Hey everybody, it's Casey Mill. Today I want to talk about a resource um, for studying the issue of infusion versus imputed righteousness and a study on atonement. This is a translation that's called Lavender's New Testament by Malcolm Weber. You can pick it. You can order it online. It's bound in leather. It's well made, and um, I think it's really good to have. It's a literal translation. Um, and he makes a lot of unique translation choices. And I want to talk about a couple of them in this video to give you a sampling. Um, yeah, so Ephesians 1:7, he translates this way: In whom we have redemption by means of his blood, the removal of sins according to the riches of his grace. And why is he translated as removal of sins rather than forgiveness of sins, like most translations do it? Well, he has this footnote, which I'm going to read. Removal translates Ephesian. Ephesian is a word used in vital, intimate relationship with atonement. Quote, blood being shed resulting in the removal, Ephesian, of sins. Matthew 26:28. Quote, in whom we have redemption by means of his blood, the removal, Ephesians, of sins. Colossians 1:14. Quote, and apart from the shedding of blood under the law, there is no forgiveness. Ephesus. Hebrews 9:22. Quote, now where there is a removal, Ephesus of these, there is no more sacrifice concerning sin. Hebrews 10:18. These passages in Hebrews makes a sharp distinction between the law, forgiveness, and grace, removal. See Romans 6:14 and note. This Ephesians passage states a profound truth. The object of the verb redemption is followed by an appositional phrase, the removal. Thus, the redemption by means of his blood is further explained as the, quote, removal of sins, by which the redeemed are separated from their sins. Ephesians is a keystone in the great arc of Christ's deliverance redemptive work. Luke 4:18. Note further that the verbal form of Ephesian is ephemi, to remove. It is made up of apo, from, and hemi, to send away, dismiss. Hemi already expresses a spatial meaning, and the presupposition apo was combined with it to give special force to the concept of separation. So a deliverance, not a cancellation of guilt while sin remains in the believer. Sin and guilt are inseparable, both are removed or both remain. Ephemi is not a legal act to forgive, just the term means that sin is removed when we have Christian experience in mind. Forgiveness means, quote, to pardon, to remit as an offense or debt, to overlook an offense and treat the offender as not guilty. Webster's Dictionary. Forgive is terminology of the law and cannot remove sin, and is therefore substandard to New Testament Christianity in light of the efficiency of Christ's blood, which is far superior to that of the Levitical animal. See Hebrews 10:4. Thus, forgiveness does nothing for the offender, except he is treated as not guilty. But of course, it did change the one who forgave. He felt differently about the matter and treated his offender as if he were not guilty. Something takes place in God, but nothing of real change in us. So, and as if meaning usurps the great salvation realities of deliverance from sin by removal. Accordingly, the salvation essence of these great terms is destroyed in other translations. So whether or not you agree, here's an interesting take on the translation of Ephesians, and yeah, another passage is Matthew 20:28, and he translates it as this: just as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a means of deliverance on behalf of many. And why does he translate it as a means of deliverance instead of ransom? This is the footnote. On deliverance, lutron, it is extremely important that the word chosen to translate ransom, lutron, not imply a payment of some sort. The Hebrew background of the term focuses upon the act of setting free, not upon the payment of a ransom. Newman and Stein, A Translator's Handbook, on Matthew 20:28. Here, lutron should be translated means of deliverance. Salvation is deliverance from sin, a new creation, Ransom, the price of release, is a cheap commercial transaction, a price or payment. Matthew primarily wrote to the Jews, and they understood lutron or cognate verbs as deliverance, not price. And the redeemed shall walk there. Isaiah 35:9 from the Septuagint. I will deliver them out of the power of death. Now redeem, the same Greek word, out of death. Hosea 13:14. And he's using the same Greek word that's found in the Septuagint that's found in Matthew 20:28. So there's some translation differences he has tons of footnotes. Sometimes half the page is footnotes about Greek and Greek tenses, and he heavily critiques Calvinism and imputed righteousness. He defends infused righteousness. Now, he's not Catholic by any means. He has a few notes against Catholic theology, but overall, it's a great resource to have, especially if you're examining infused versus imputed righteousness. I got it when I was still Reformed and read most of it, and a lot of the notes got me started thinking about my Reformed faith and starting to question. There's a lot of different factors that ended up with my conversion from Reformed theology to Catholicism, but this is a part of it. So, yeah, be interesting to see what you guys think, and God bless, and talk to you next time.